One moment changes everything. A crash, an injury, and suddenly you're dealing with insurance companies, medical bills, and a future you didn't plan for. But you don't have to face it alone. At Gulshani Lee, we treat you like a person, not a case number. We handle the calls, the paperwork, and the fight, so you can focus on just getting better. So when you're forced to fight, don't go into it alone. Call Gulshani Lee at 858-360-6454 or visit our website at gulshanilee.com. That's GOLSHANILEE.com. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in once again. Oh, and children aliens, don't leave you guys out, to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom podcast. And I hope you lads like soccer, because if you are not, you are in for a struggle today as the World Cup rages on in full bloom. So I am here as your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and give it up for my co-host, Mitch Nutmeg Black, and special guest appearance from our sponsor, Chris Swagapotamus Lee. Say hello to all the Delvers out there, gentlemen.
Hello.
And for anyone that heard that ad read and they're like, wow, that one actually sounded a little more, well written than the previous ones, that's because I actually got an ad read from the sponsor who's here today. So, Chris, thank you for that. Thanks for being here, both of you gents. You guys, if it's okay with you, we're just going to talk soccer because there's a lot of soccer going on. And if anyone's here for something else, you're going to have a bad time.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Well, then we can go about this however you guys want. I have a ton of rants queued up, or we can talk about specific games. You guys weren't here last week when Vinny and I first dove into it, and since then, just for a little context for the viewers, there's 4 World Cup games a day. That comes out to about 7 hours of soccer every day when you consider injury time and whatnot. So a lot of soccer to be watched every day. The last podcast we did was on a Wednesday, so when you count the 2 Wednesday games I hadn't seen yet, we're talking about a good chunk of hours of, not just hours of days worth of my time that has been purely on soccer. I'm sure these 2 guys are the same way. So yeah, guys, I'll let you pick a topic first, whether it's a game or something you want to talk about, or something I said last week or Vinny said last week that you wanted to dive into. Go for it, boys. The floor is yours.
It's interesting that the stars have shown up. As speaking of way too much time spent watching, I don't know if I've only missed a couple games, but it's interesting that generally it's hard to come across like 4 or 5 goals total in a World Cup, and there's only 3 or 4 people that have 4, and Messi has 5. So that part stuck out for me, and I like the rule changes. I think it's resulted in better scoring.
Yeah, I did have some comments on the rule changes, both pro and con. I know last week on the pod I said I love the let them play mentality, and I do for the most part, but there's let them play, and there is you're running the game with blinders on. There have been a few games where there have been some issues, and specifically I want to reference, I think it was the Curacao game, where they put in their sub late in the game, and dude looked like Derrick Henry. He's just a big dude, and he was just trucking kids. That's all he did. He was just running people over. I don't know that he ever actually kicked the soccer ball the entire 20 minutes he was in the game. All he did was maul people, and only once was he ever called for a foul. And it's like, guys, I get that I like let them play, but there's a difference between let them play and let them play rugby. So I do think it's gone maybe a little too far in the wrong direction. Kind of like with the transfer portal, right? I felt like college kids should have the option to transfer, but not every single person every single day can transfer. I think they kind of did that. They're like, hey, we were calling too many fouls. Let's speed up the game and make it more entertaining by not calling so many. And instead, they're just like, we're just not going to call anything. And I think they need to find a better balance.
The Paraguay Turkey game was one of my favorites for it was just extremely every single play was a foul. But I think a lot of it has to do with the where the referees where their home country is where they ref, because like not all of these referees ref in one of the top 5 leagues, Italy, Spain, England, France, Germany, right? So these refs actually, like one of the refs from the Paraguay Turkey game, he only refs Central American games. And then there's some refs that only ref, South American league, like either the Brazilian league or the Argentinian league. And then they also do combo, which is, like the South America, North America World Cup or whatever, you know what I mean? Or, when they play for their, what's it called? The Combo Cup or something. But, so like these refs are very, I wouldn't say regional, but they're definitely part of us, they don't, so it depends on which country's playing and which refs are there. So like it's going to dictate which type of style. Because yeah, some of these games are more physical than some of them are expecting, and then vice versa. Some of these South American teams are expecting some physicality because they're used to specific refs, and then they're getting red carded real fast in some of these games. Like I wonder how lenient it is in South Africa because they just fly in studs up all the time. So I'm
You
guessing
mean South
in that
America?
league, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, so I was like, and no, just, and the team South Africa, both their games, those guys are just coming in studs up all the time. So
Well,
it's like
South
a
Africa
different,
had 2 guys sent off in their first game, so
yeah, that too. And so it's like, I think it's very, it depends on how many players also on the team play in those top fives, not just the refs. So like, you could be Senegal or whatever, but your whole team's from playing in Europe. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just that combination of whatever that combination is just spilling out on in some of these games and wild red cards.
yeah, it's funny that. Well, hold on, I'll go let you go first, Chris, and then I want to comment on what Mitch said.
No, no, no comment there.
Okay.
I was watching the England-Ghana game, which I'm pretty sure we'll talk about at some point, but I was thinking the same thing. Ref was definitely letting them play to the point where I thought that there were some missed calls there.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mitch specifically referenced the Turkey versus Paraguay game. I think that was probably the worst refereed game I've ever seen. That guy absolutely had small man syndrome out there. That 4'9" referee who looked short even next to those guys who weren't that tall. Like he was the worst ref in the tournament, and it wasn't close. He got every call wrong. Whether he made the call or didn't make the call, he got it wrong. And I just wasn't a fan of that. Also in that game, I did have a question about this, and maybe Mitch, you might know this. At one point in the game, he went over and gave Paraguay's bench a yellow card.
Yeah.
So what happens if the bench gets a second yellow? Does the whole bench have to leave? Like, is that a red? Because
No,
normally it's like you
definitely.
give the coach a yellow. He didn't give it to the coach. He gave it to the bench.
I'm not entirely sure. It's probably a
I'll figure it
World
back
Cup
with you.
rule. Yeah, so I would try and Google it right now, but I know after a certain accumulation of sideline red cards, it could factor in someone on the field, but that might be an old rule. I'm not sure. I'm trying to look it up. Chris, would you know this one? Like, buy me time to look it up.
So,
What I do have, if someone else wants to work it up, let's see
Well, no,
here.
that's okay. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. I just thought that was strange because, like, you give it to the coach, he gets the second when he gets a red, the coach gets in all fine. But when you give it to the bench, it's like,
Okay,
if
I
the,
got it.
okay, go, go.
So yeah, if you penalize the whole bench because if they get a second yellow, they have to take off someone on the game.
Gotcha.
So
So if
it's
the
rather than
bench
just
gets the
yellow
second
carding,
yellow,
yeah,
then
yeah,
they pick a player and he has to miss the rest of the game.
correct. And I just Googled that, so I didn't. But yeah, that's
Like
rather
they'll
than
have to
probably
play a
yellow
man
carding.
down missing a player, or just one guy
Correct.
from the bench gets okay.
No, yeah, and that's why it's better. It's probably they don't want him just like giving out five yellow cards to five different bench players. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like. But back to really quick, like there's I forget his name, Ishmael. He's an American ref who only does MLS games. Said Martinez is the Honduran ref, I think, or it's Yvonne Barton. It's one of those two is the one Alex does not like. He's an El Salvador ref who only does the Salvadorian Primera Division. And then there's Cesar Ramos, who's only doing the Mexican League. Now, these guys definitely do combo matches, which is, when South America plays each other and even when North America joins in. So they have experience at, like this kind of stage. But you got to understand, this guy only referees the Mexican League all year round. And he's going to go out there and call a game where most of these guys are Man City, Bayern, Real, Barca. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that might be part of it, but that to me is a failure on FIFA's part, right? Like that's a failure at the organizational level. If you're having these refs that can't all be on the same page, you know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
in baseball, you have the two leagues, right? The National League and the American League, which for a while had different rule sets because you had one that had a designated hitter, one that didn't, what have you. But like you still expect whatever umpire umpires the World Series to be on the same page like through each game. Same with
Yeah.
same with football, AFL, NFL. Like now there's no rule differences there, but still like it doesn't matter what region of the country you're in. Like you're expected to do the same things in college football. An SEC ref that has to referee a bowl game that's between a Pac-10 team and a Big 12 team is still expected to call things the correct way. They're not like, oh, that's just because in SEC they allow more of that. No, you never hear people talking about that, right? You hear people bashing
Sure.
refs when they suck, but you're never like, oh, well, that's just how that's how they do it in the Big 12, so that's okay. You know what I mean? So I just think
Yeah.
that's a failure at the organizational level if we're making that excuse. Well, oh, these guys are used to playing with a different. I understand maybe a little difference, but there's a huge difference between every single thing is a foul. We're going to change it to where we're going to let more people play, which even the Premier League refs are letting people play more, which is great.
True.
To
True.
hey, you can do whatever you want. You can maul somebody. You can cold cock someone in the face. Because that was my text to you. It felt like in that game, if you cold cocked a guy in the face, you were fine, no penalty. But if you breathe on someone's shoulder wrong, you might get a red card. And
Yeah,
that's the problem.
it's
It needs to be consistent.
right. And then the VR team is usually a different region. They usually try to keep the refs the same, you know what I mean, for on the game, but then the VAR roster might be, you know what I mean? So there's a disconnect there too. Yeah.
Speaking speaking of,
But
speaking of red cards in that game, so that was the game where the newer rule came up, where if you cover your mouth when talking to an opponent, it is an
yeah.
automatic red card. Is it just me, or is that the dumbest rule in sports?
No, it's you can call it Vinny Jr.,
I
Vinny
understand the intention of the rule is to combat racism.
yeah.
However, I just think that is a wild leap to naturally assume that someone covering their mouth to talk is
So
racist.
in Champions League, you gotta understand they come from a lot of leagues. Like they got to go to like some of these other countries like Serbia, Turkey, Russia, and he gets abused there, and their players all cover their mouth. And I mean, it happens in Spain too. Don't get me wrong, but like it was getting pretty bad. Where like every time someone talked to him, they were covering his mouth. So it's like, why do you need to cover your mouth when you're talking to a couple specific players? I do actually like the rule, and the one part that I would have been upset with is if what's oh my gosh, his name's on the tip of my head right now. He plays in the Premier League, so he knows this rule very well. Like this isn't like the Spanish league does this. Oh, I play in my home country. They go like, oh, I didn't know. No, he actually knew. He did that on purpose. He definitely said something that shouldn't have been said.
Oh,
Bro, be smarter than that.
he's also the guy that flopped in the U.S. game that got Tim Ream the yellow card that they then reviewed and gave it to him for misidentification or whatever they call it. So yeah,
Yeah,
dude was all over the place. And Almira, I think is his name.
yeah.
With making mistakes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, man.
since we're talking about rules, then I'll ask Chris. Chris, you being the minority representative on the pod here, do you like the rule then, where you can't cover your mouth to talk trash?
I don't. I think it's soft.
I
It
agree.
is soft.
I agree. It's pretty soft. All right. One thing I will say: soccer is a sport where you famously can't use your hands, but all the time you see a guy get dragged down by his jersey when he's on a breakaway, and it's like, oh, well, it's a tactical foul. You know, it's an easy way to like make soccer more interesting, which some of the things Vinny was talking about, like all the stoppage and slowdowns cause problems. And now that they're calling less fouls, it's like, okay, great, less fouls means less stoppage. But also, like, we have the problem of people getting mauled and not getting foul called, and that's also bad too. Like, there was a goal today that like may or may not should have been a goal because of that. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is like, why don't you just make it where if someone uses their hands to pull down a player, it's an automatic card, no matter where it is on the field. Get people to
No,
stop using their hands. Like, especially like
true.
corner kicks would be so much more interesting if people got to actually make running attempts to head the ball without getting thrown to the ground.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not totally opposed against that. That's really hard to ref, though. I just think the
No, I'm
threat
not
of
not
V
now that everything's video reviewed. I don't think it's hard to ref at all.
agreed. That's what I was gonna say. The threat of VAR should be enough alone before you go to something like that. But yeah,
Like there will be an adjustment. I'm not saying to start it in the World Cup, right? But like if you start it in league play this year, the first 10 games are going to be rough. You're going to have a lot of guys get cards, but people are going to learn like, okay, this is a thing now. We can't use our hands. I think the game of soccer will really pick up. There will be more scoring as a result, absolutely. But who's going to complain about that?
so, Chris, I have a question for you as someone who definitely watches, you know what I mean, but I would say is more neutral. What stood out to you that's either A, bothered you or B, you liked? so far, just overall, even a game or a rule change, or just what has stood out to you?
So just going back to the jersey thing, I agree with Alex. I mean, I think it's a lot like holding in football, right? It's kind of like hard to ref, but I think it needs to be addressed when it's super blatant, if that makes sense. But generally speaking, what has stood out to me about this World Cup, and granted, I did not watch, I think, the previous two World Cups, and maybe soccer has evolved, but it's just kind of how much scoring there is. Uh, I don't know. The games have just been super entertaining. Um, there have only been a few games where like it seems like the countries are playing for the draw. I was like the Korea Mexico game. The first half was super boring, and then once Mexico scored, South Korea kind of turned it on and made it a little bit interesting towards the latter half of the match. But just generally speaking, I think that there's been a lot of scoring, and it's like a little bit more entertaining than what I'm used to when I'm trying to watch soccer.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I do like it, but again, I think we talked about the fact that group play is less valuable now. I think more teams are willing to play for the draw, Chris, as you said, than they would have been in the past, because now that third place teams can advance. I mean, if you honestly, I imagine if you go draw 3 points, you're probably in, because there's going to be
Oh
somebody that
yeah,
picks up an L. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
I mean, like even if you draw like two, you're still in it, right?
like Cape Verde
Um,
right now, like if Cape Verde draws their third game, they probably advance.
yeah, which is awesome. Super cool story.
Well, that
The
that that
main
one's
thing,
awesome because no one expected them to be able to draw with Spain and Uruguay, but like it's less awesome when you have better teams are just parking the bus. Like you said, the Mexico Korea game, like you said, they weren't. Neither team was trying to score until Mexico scored, and then Korea's like, oh, we have to try now.
yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. I guess like for me, it's been entertaining to watch like some of these, small country teams or like these Cinderella teams like hold ties against, larger teams. And you're sort of rooting for that to happen because, obviously other than like Team USA, I want every good team to get as many draws as possible. That way, Team USA's path uh, to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and maybe the finals is a lot easier.
Yeah, speaking of, so let's talk some Team USA stats. So in game one, Chris Richards, one of our defensemen, he set the record for most completed pass attempt. Well, most like best percentage, whatever, most completed pass attempts without an incompletion in a World Cup match. So that was awesome that we got someone on Team USA to do that. And he was born and raised in Alabama, which is also cool because most of the good players on USA are people that were born and raised in other countries. That's why they're good at soccer. Let's just be real. Matt Freeze, our goalkeeper, is the first active MLS goalie to start a World Cup match. Not stoked about that, but it's true. Speaking of MLS, Galarza in that Paraguay game, he didn't start against the U.S. thankfully because in game two he was their best player and he scored a goal and that is the third player I think MLS player to score a goal, which is great. So props to the U.S. for that. And then the U.S. game, the second game where we played Australia, we advanced by winning 2-0. I don't understand how that math worked at the time, where it's like, oh, we're guaranteed to advance, but now we are because more games have happened. But that was really, I don't love the new tiebreaker system, to be honest with you guys. But I'll ask you because I'm assuming you both watched the U.S. game. It kind of felt like a tale of two halves in both of our games, where the first half were really good and the second half we're holding on for dear life. Is that just poor prevent defense strategy, or do we just suck at halftime adjustments and we're actually getting hammered in the second halves?
I think that's just more of the extreme tactics that Australia runs. They're
What happened
like,
in the Paraguay game too, right? Like in the first half we were up 3-0, in the second half it was 1-1, but it was really 1-0 Paraguay until Reyna scored with like a minute left.
right, true. Um, Yeah, game one is might just be attributed to like, looking forward to this for like many months now. But I think it's more of just like settling into the game and then the team you're playing against, because you've taken a lead, you're forcing tactics on the other team. And teams like Paraguay and Australia play more year round together. So it's like, especially Australia, their team is, I think last I looked, remembering it was like 90% all in their Australian league. So those guys literally play all year round. They have extreme tactics from, it's not even called Park the Bus, what they were running the game one against Paraguay. So it's like, I think it might just be more of that. We'll see as it evens out against a more quality side like Turkey. Turkey, I'm very nervous that they're going to outpossess us and we might draw. Turkey's very underrated, the quality that they have, and we've had majority possession and not even had to even work defensively. Any of our traps, nothing. We're going to get tested on our ability to press and trap come Turkey. So we'll see when it happens there, what the tale of the two halves says there.
I mean, speaking of Turkey, they're
Just a
massively
quick
underachieving with their. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Just a quick question about Turkey. Were they, I mean, other than Team USA, like who's better between Turkey and Paraguay?
Coming into
Oh,
this tournament,
not even
Turkey was
close.
was potentially thought to be the team that would win our group, but clearly that
Oh
has not
wow,
happened.
okay.
They're already eliminated.
Turkey actually
Okay.
has like Paraguay has one. Turkey has like three or four guys that are, or two guys that are probably better than any American. So it's a different
Okay.
class. Yeah.
I was just looking at the bet line and I realized, that one's going to be a close match. So I was just curious about that. Honestly, from like a layman's perspective,
Well, also, Chris, just to
to
comment on that
answer
real
your,
fast, keep in mind that neither team has U.S. has nothing to play for, and Turkey has pride to play for. U.S. gets first in the group no matter what they do, so they're probably not going to play all their starters. Turkey is eliminated no matter what they do, so they're playing for pride because they've lost 2 games. So even if you considered the U.S. to be the other team, there might be money on Turkey just because of the situation.
okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was asking because I wasn't sure if it was are the odds is this match going to be super close because U.S. is resting a bunch of players, or is Turkey like legit good and the U.S. is expected to play against them? Um, but like just to answer your question about the tale of two halves, Alex, and this is just straight from someone who like doesn't watch much soccer. It just seems like the U.S. offense, there's an imbalance between like how good the offense is and then like the defense's ability to like withstand an onslaught of another team in full offensive mode. And like when that happens, for some reason, like maybe the U.S. doesn't seem to counter all that well. Um, that's kind of how I'm reading it.
Yeah, and and,
Chris,
and then here's
yeah,
another. Okay, good, Mitch.
I was just say just to clarify, like Paraguay's best player plays on like what's it called, Brighton and Albion, and like he's probably worth maybe 20 million on the open market. Whereas like Turkey has Arda Güler, who's 21 years old, starts for Real Madrid, worth $900 million on the open market. Like that's kind of the difference in level here.
Oh, okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mitch, let me ask you this. So in game one against Paraguay, we had our best game in World Cup history, like best we'd ever had, most goals we ever had. And then going into game two, I know Pulisic was hurt, but we changed our entire formation to start game two just because of one player. Do you think that was a bold strategy based on the matchup, or do you think it was kind of like dumb to be changing our whole strategy just because of one guy missing?
Wait, so sorry, you're asking between the formational change?
Yeah, like we
Okay.
played a completely different formation between game one and game two. Game one, we had our best game ever. Game two, when we were up against an Australia team that, quite
First of all,
frankly,
I'm so happy you asked this question
yeah,
because I noted, if you've noticed, we're not playing the 4-3-3 false nine that Beerhalter wanted us to run, which we could go have a whole segment on that. There's only two countries running it this whole World Cup, and it's like England and Spain, and that's it. France decided to do the same. Well, we decided to do the same formation as France. But yeah, switching to the 4-4-2, I think again, I don't want to give the same answer, but it's based on more of his Portuguese reaction to Australians' extreme tactics. He knew they were going to park the bus. If you watch that Australia Paraguay game, it was a joke. They don't even go and like rewatch like that end of that second half. They don't even go for a tackle until they get to the box. They literally let them walk up the whole field. It was crazy. So why would we play the stacked midfield formation against a team like that? We need more runners in behind the defense. And so he started Pepe. I thought for sure or Matt and I thought for sure that this was, either Reyna or Weah. I said Weah, Matt agreed, but it potentially could have been Reyna. You basically like for like, right? Right? Pulisic comes out, like player, winger on the outside. That's probably Weah up next or Reyna. But instead, he goes swings out of it, puts in another striker, a pure striker, because I think he just wanted to keep that back line as honest as possible. And what I mean by that is as close to their own goalie box as possible. As soon as they get compact and just stick 10 guys inside the box, it's just you're just shooting at a wall and you're Paraguay all over again. So again, I'm gonna use the same answer. I think it's just us reacting to the team that we're playing's extreme tactics. Turkey won't have these extreme tactics because they have like a really good European players and they're just going to play standard soccer.
Yeah, I know how passionate you've been about our formation in the past, so I wanted to bring
Yes.
that up.
Oh, I didn't want to get onto it, Alex, but trust me, it's so enjoyable to watch. And people are in the right positions. Watching my boy McKennie be able to be free in the midfield and roam. He's basically playing a roamer. And it was designed again by Pep at Man City in that, 5-2-3-1, which he does a hybrid from the 4-3-3 that he ran in Barcelona. It's so enjoyable.
All right, a couple more quick fun facts about that game. It was the first time ever in the World Cup for a team to benefit from own goals in back-to-back games because we had an own goal in our favor in back-to-back games.
That is wild.
We're now second.
Huge.
We're now second all time in most own goals benefited from, behind France, who's number one.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was amazing to see Freeman get to score his goal. For those who don't know, his dad won a Super Bowl with the Packers, and now here he is starting for the U.S. and scoring a goal in the World Cup. Like, talk about being like, nah, man, I'm not gonna follow my dad's footsteps and go into football because that might be tough to outshine him. So I'm just gonna go outshine him in a completely different sport. Like, that's a baller move to me, because like now no one can compare you to your dad, but also like you can be compared in like a good way, as opposed to like everyone thinking like, oh, well, your dad was better when you both play the same sport.
He's 21. He's got the best years coming ahead. We're going to see him for us in a while. And also, his value before was close to like a $5 million transfer fee in the open market. He's gone up to like a 15 million, 20. He's 3 times his value because of that game. And the one interesting part is like the whole world is stopped, right? So all the scouts in the world, all the people who are positioned like, hey, I work for Real Madrid, I got to go in Senegal and do my scouting. Like that's all stopped. Like the whole world is what all the scouts are watching this. So this really truly does affect players' market value. It's so much fun for me to watch, like just go up and down because it's everyone's just being every scout's watching.
Yeah, one more thing I guess two more things about that game. Then I'll hand the reins back over to you guys. You mentioned Australia's team. 90% of them are Australian. Just to really hit Vinny, if you're listening to this podcast, one of the Australian players grew up playing in Italy on the Italian youth national team, but 3 weeks ago he switched to represent Australia so he could play in this World Cup because Italy's not going. So Vinny, have fun with that one.
Have you heard the Florian? Did you guys say that? I can't remember. Have you told that story?
Yeah,
The
how
Balogun
Balogun could have
story?
played for three different teams, and
But his mom was literally just like not allowed to fly.
oh, I
It's
didn't
a
know
crazy
about
story.
not allowed to. No, he talked about
She was
like the
just
U.S. culture.
she was just visiting on vacation and she was late in the pregnancy and she started I'm not going to try and pretend to be an OB, a doctor right now, but apparently she was denied on the airplane and then like 3 days later someone went into labor and then they flew back immediately after. It's the only reason he's playing for us.
USA, USA.
Yes.
And yet we have an
Or it
administration
sounds
trying to end birthright citizenship. This is an example of why you should not do that.
No,
I was
he's
about to say it sounds like a solid way to get citizenship.
Used to be.
uh Hey, I'm not going politics here, but Google the story. It's fascinating. Whoever that TSA agent was, hell yeah. Or, if she was just trying to do birthright, then whatever. But
And then last thing about that game, then we'll move on to a different one. For those who don't know, that game was in Seattle. Their stadium has what they call Beastquake seismometers because they want to see, their home of the 12s, the 12th man. I want to see how the crowd reacts back when Beast Mode scored touchdowns. So I have a question for you, gentlemen. Do you think the seismometer read higher for a Team USA goal in the World Cup or for a Seahawks touchdown in the playoffs?
Seahawks touchdown. And it was the
Ooh,
Marshawn
are we
Lynch one.
talking about the Marshawn Lynch run?
Yeah, it's got to be.
I'm just
Or
talking
the
about
quick.
in general, a U.S. World Cup goal or a Seahawks playoff touchdown, like a general Seahawks playoff touchdown, not the greatest Seahawks playoff touchdown of all time.
Oh, I don't know. I'm
I
hoping
mean,
it's
if you want to
USA.
do an average, I would maybe say US probably got Team USA probably got a higher average.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. All right, that was my last thing about that game. I have a bunch of other stuff about other games, but I'll let you guys take. I've been talking a ton, so if you guys want to talk about something else, I'll let you guys.
No, what's the answer to
Yeah,
that?
you didn't even say the
I
answer.
don't know the answer. That's why I was asking you guys.
Oh.
Oh, interesting. I don't. That stadium was packed. It was awesome to watch.
According to Manning, they pumped the sound in, so
Yeah,
That's funny.
as if his stadium didn't do that.
for sure they did. 100%. That's why he's confident he knows they did. No, I would like to hear your guys' opinion. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've only missed Qatar, Canada, and then I missed Jordan, Algeria.
Well, you missed an onslaught from Canada.
And then today I've still got the England game from earlier. I jumped on and was playing with Miles for a bit. But I'm trying to say is like you tell me what you've liked.
I mean, I have mostly rants queued up. I've liked a lot of it, but I'll let Chris, since you're here, I'll let you go first, and then I'll
Or
jump on.
disliked, sure. What team
No,
is, yeah, sorry, Chris.
no. I'll say, like I've enjoyed most of it. Like right now I've got the Panama Croatia match playing in the background, and I guess the loser of this is out, right? So it's fun to watch those types of matches. Obviously, been following Team USA, South Korea. The stuff with South Korea and Mexico is like hilarious. Like before they played, they were both partying together. I think Mexico won and South Korea won. And even with the South Korea Mexico match, like it just seemed like everybody was like legitimately enjoying themselves and having a good time. So like some of the, I guess the social media content has been really good. That's what I've been hit with a lot. All the different fans going to like not necessarily just LA or Toronto or any of these major cities, but like going to like some less traveled cities, going to, I don't know how many Europeans would go to Texas or like would go to Boston or, those
Kansas
they're not small, but
Seattle.
like
Europeans
Tennessee.
aren't visiting Seatell.
or
Yeah,
Kansas or Atlanta. They're
exactly.
not they're not going to Atlanta, I don't think.
Yeah, and just seeing them experience the culture is pretty cool because, you know, considered like the USA is a really cool place, and not a lot of people get to see all of that it has to offer because it's so big.
Well, and most people think really negatively about the U.S. based on stuff in the media. So them getting to come and see it for themselves is nice because it gives them a better picture of what we're really like. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I saw like this guy talking and it's like hilarious because he's like it's like a movie, right? Like they just feel like they're in an American movie. Like this stuff doesn't happen in Europe, it doesn't happen, in the media, but it does sort of like it's sort of represented in the movies, and they just feel like they're living that movie, which must be a pretty cool feeling.
How how do you guys like Henry, Ibrahimovic, and Lawless? How does that
Oh,
rubbing
it's
off on you
so
guys?
good. It's
I've
so
heard good
good.
things, but I'll be honest, I just fast forward through it, so I'll let Chris talk about it.
No, no, it's great. The dynamic is great. I think they gang up on Lawless, and he sort of takes it. I don't know how much of it is like for
For fun?
how much of it is just like joking around,
Right. That's
But
how much that's all I'm wondering the whole time.
When I Google
Like
their
did
names, this is the
yeah, yeah,
first article that comes up, by the way.
yeah, no, it's a big
yeah. I
thing,
mean,
Alex. It's not just that, but sorry to cut you off, Chris. It was during the
that's fine.
France game. Landon Donovan was calling that game, and it was game one. Who were they playing? Senegal, and it was 0-0 at half, and he was saying, "Oh, they're coming out. They're arrogant. They think they can just score whenever they want." Blah blah. Henri Ibrahimovic said like, "Oh, stupid people call it arrogance. Intelligent people call it confidence." And then Henri is like, "Yeah, like what are we supposed to do? Just start the game 3-0? I don't understand the criticism here." And I think there was real beef between Ibrahimovic, Landon, and uh, what's it called? But not. I think Lawless, Chris. Back to your point, is I think they actually off cameras are like, "Hey, you can make fun of me," and like they actually like each other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Ibrahimovic also just like leans into the whole thing anyways, like the commercials with him, like his interview on James Corden, is that guy's name? The late
Yeah,
night interview.
yeah,
He just sort of leans into this like, I'm an egotistical maniac kind of thing.
yeah.
And I think he's sort of playing that part, on TV as well.
Right. I think Ted
But
Lasso gave him too much of a platform.
Yeah,
But go
he's
on.
Zava. He's 100% like that's.
that's who they base it off
Yeah,
of. And then he's like, wow, America loves that. I'm just going to keep playing into
yeah.
that. Sorry, Chris, go on.
No, no, it's fine. Like I agree. He's playing into it a little bit, but it makes for good television. So it actually makes it like watchable. My favorite part of the whole thing though is every time Ibrahimovic like buries Lawless, just the only thing you need to watch is Thierry Henry's face. He makes the best faces in the world.
And so I enjoy it's like I don't remember a time where I'm like I'm actually excited to see the halftime for the first couple minutes. Just like I don't watch the whole thing, I just watch the first 30 seconds like they're you know what I mean, and shoot it over and they give their little snippets or whatever. And then one of the games it was Belgium Iran and Ibrahimovic goes, "Oh, I was falling asleep in the first half. Second half, I got my nap in or whatever." It's just so stupid. I think they're great, but
All right. Well, Chris, you referenced social media. You also referenced the Mexico Korea game. So last week we had a lot of feedback that their favorite part of the show was when I talked about fashion. So I'm gonna talk about that again. Mexico wore black, and so Korea, obviously, Korea, if Mexico's wearing black, they're gonna wear. That's right, you guessed it, magenta. Because why wouldn't they? Like, guys, what are we doing? First of all, you're not selling
Yeah,
jerseys. Like Mexico wearing black, sure, maybe they're trying to sell jerseys. Holland wore black. Uh, Today, the Netherlands wore black. Not Netherlands, excuse me. Norway. God, it got there. Norway wore black. It's like, okay, whatever you're trying to sell jerseys, maybe black will sell. But ain't
nobody's
nobody out there buying a
numbers.
magenta South Korea jersey.
so yeah, the best explanation I could come up with South Korea, I'm not saying this is a good excuse, is that they blended the two colors of their flag, which is red and blue, which is just dumb as hell.
That's such a
But
stretch.
both colors were available in that game because Mexico wore black, by the way. Also, guys, is it Breast Cancer Awareness Month in FIFA? Because everyone and their mother has on pink cleats. Now, I understand that sometimes you want to stand out. Maybe there's like a specific kind of cleat that's really good. But I find it really hard to believe that like 95% of players all chose the pink cleat. What's the
They
deal?
it's first of all, it's sponsors. They want them pushed by, whoever their shoes with, their
Right,
country
but
and
those shoes can
individuals.
be orange and lime green. There's other ways to pop besides
Alex,
pink.
I think this is just a generational thing because when we grew up and played, there was only one person on the field that was allowed to wear a colored boot, and that was, usually the color gold, and it was but the best player on the field. And if you weren't the best player on the field, you get slide tackle hard. So I think it's just a massive generational thing. Nowadays, they all actually pick the
But that's what I'm saying. I don't mind that they have colored cleats, Mitch. I don't understand why they all chose the same color.
Oh, I think that might just be, I guess, back to solidarity. It's like maybe we do want bright cleats, but we don't want to be individuals. It was funny when you watch that Mexico game, they all wore the exact same orange and white cleats, except for the one guy. If you want to go back and watch that, I know Chris, I think, was watching the Korea Mexico game, it obviously sounds like, but he came on as a sub. Um, and yeah, I think it's there it is. They're all wearing it, but there's one guy in the group that wore all black, and it was just so awkward to see on the field. It's like you're gonna be so embarrassed when you watch that back and be like, you didn't want to be part of the team because you wanted to wear your own cleats. So it might just be some of that.
Why would you be embarrassed though if everybody's wearing pink cleats?
Because
Like
it's a solidarity thing. It's like why do you have to stand out? You're like your team Mexico or your team
Right,
USA. Like
but then why vote on pink? Because it doesn't go well with your like, especially these guys who have red socks. Pink does
yeah, I
not go
think
well
they
with red socks.
I'm gonna guess, Alex, that in the locker room, the captain either picked the color or for everyone and just decided, or they had a vote. And I'm
Like
not gonna lie,
bright yellow would
because
really pop right here, right, with these guys. I'm just saying. Put this yellow on these cleats. I'm just
sure
saying. All right, so that's my fashion take, and then one
that is
other
a good fashion take, by the way. But did the fast speaking of fashion take, Alex, the Norway numbers, wow, that's hard on the eyes. Not just
The Norway numbers and the way they spell their names. Oh man.
like the number 8, who's a very good player, it just looked like an hourglass. It wasn't even
Yeah,
type in
number eight's an hourglass, which is like
It's just
cool but irritating.
yeah. Oh, that doesn't show the 8, but yeah.
Well, I
I
mean,
was like, oh, hourglass has got it. Um, so I don't know. Maybe that's a hit in their country and good for them, but that was hard on the eyes.
I will say, I think the Norwegians have the best. I don't know if you even call it a chant, but the best like
the
fan.
rowing,
Yeah, the
dude.
the rowing on the New York subway in the middle of Boston on escalators, like it is so epic. They did it in Times Square.
It's also pretty frustrating if you were a Norway fan to be like, I have to buy seats behind one of the home goals, so I have to be in the row. You don't get to pick a better seat in the arena.
Yeah, the Norway row is pretty awesome.
Oh, it is. If this was based on fans, I'm voting. I hope the World Cup finals is Scotland, Netherlands. Because the Netherlands, what do you call it, Yule or whatever you want to call it, is amazing. How do they do that so deep? Type in like the Netherlands dance in Texas, Alex, or whatever, and it's like not one person ever gets hurt, and like all the police officers are just laughing. And it's like if you ever tried that in the USA, people are pushing and it's turning into a mosh pit.
Yeah, yeah, the left and the right.
Yeah, the what do you call it? What is it called? You can skip a little bit to the middle, but
I mean, this just seems like a random party.
oh yeah, no, that's just them walking. But
Yeah,
there's a
there's more of
part,
a dance that
There it
they
is.
do.
Yeah, the side to side.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the fans are passionate. That's awesome. All right. Let me. I'm gonna give you guys a couple more some stadium takes now. You guys ready for some stadium takes before we talk actual soccer?
Sure.
All right. So, two things that I have as far as stadium takes goes. One is I didn't mention this last time, but they cannot advertise the stadium name. So, like Levi Stadium is just stadium. Uh, that's what they have to call them. They have to cover up the sponsor that we have on our stadiums, which I get that. But also, massive missed opportunity for Levi's not covering their sign with denim, right? Because all they did was cover it with a white tarp. But it's really funny to see all these pictures and so playing at stadiums. Like, all right, we're here playing at the New York, New Jersey Stadium. It's like no, you're playing at MetLife. You can't call it that. Fine. So just say you're playing in New Jersey. Don't try to call it the New York, New Jersey Stadium. Everyone and their mother knows it's not really in New York. And there's no one out there who's like, well, I was going to watch this World Cup game, but I'm not going to watch it because it's in New Jersey. Right? No one's like that. By calling it New York, New Jersey Stadium, all you're doing is confusing the fans from foreign countries who are trying to find the stadium because it's not in New York. Right? No one on TV is sitting there like, oh man, I was going to watch this, Spain versus Uruguay game, but because it's in New Jersey, I think I'll pass this time. So, the stadium name thing it's dumb. Boston Stadium. Well, no, they're not in Boston. They're in Foxborough, but whatever. All right. My other stadium rant is you guys have seen those ad stanchions around the field, right? The ads that you see on the little signs around the field.
Yeah.
So
That says like Visa.
yeah. So what I want to talk about is there are two different types of ads that
LED
they have.
and signs, the ones they hang over. Is that what you're getting at?
No. So there's two different.
Oh.
Oops, feel that. Here we go. Let me see if I can show. So yeah, here we go. Let me pull up this picture if it'll load. Why is it always so irritating? Anyway, so this is from Qatar, but whatever. You can see the little video boards. Anyway, there's two different types of ads. There's one where they don't pay for the entire billboard and it only takes up part of it. For example, McDonald's has part of it. This Vivo company has part of it. Up here, Powerade paid for the whole thing, right? So like, different companies pay for different amounts of the board, right? Makes complete
Sure.
sense. What's crazy to me is there are some companies paying for the entire board, and I don't know who they're advertising to. There's two that stand out to me. One is Bank of America. Bank of America has an advertisement that covers the entire board. Now, Alex, why are you complaining about that? Did you guys know that Bank of America is not even in every U.S. state, and it's certainly not in any foreign countries? So you're not even advertising to one whole country at an event that is for multiple countries. That seems kind of a waste of money. There's a Japanese ad that to this day I can't tell you what it's for because it's in Japanese. And they take up the whole stadium. Look, I'm not saying not to advertise your product, but there's only so many countries and so many people in the world that speak Japanese. So if you're going to put your ad in Japanese, not in English, which is more of a, I'm not going to say universal language, but more people speak that language, especially with regards to soccer. If you're not going to use English or even Spanish, like, why are you paying for the whole thing? You just need a small section. You don't need the whole thing for Japan to see your ad. I just don't get it. Visa takes up the whole thing. Makes total sense. Visa's accepted everywhere in the world. Used everywhere in the world. So yeah, that's my rant. Like, guys, use your marketing money better. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna guess it's already like a contract with the stadium that had nothing to do with the World Cup, and they get a certain amount of, I don't know.
Oh no,
there's a lot.
it had to be World Cup after. There's no. If
Gotcha.
it was just with the stadium, freaking Frank's Auto Body would have bought himself an ad and got super lucky to have that
True.
broadcast at the World Cup.
I'll do a stadium rant real quick.
Okay, go for it.
Some of the fields look so much better than others based off where the crowds are because shout out to Seattle. When they designed their field, it came with intentions of that it would have to be the 120-yard width length for regulation for a soccer field to be there. So that's why their seats look so nicely designed and it's like right up on the field. Whereas like you watch the game in Atlanta or whatever, or even in Dallas, it's like there's just a big wall. It's just a giant wall all the way up to where like the first row is because they had to physically take out the first 6 or 7 rows of some of these stadiums in order to be compliant for the width of a soccer field. So shout out to some of these stadiums that built their stadium in anticipation of having soccer games there. That's my rant.
Yeah, well, I mean, not every stadium's been built in the last 8 years since we got awarded the World Cup, right? So I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that. But yes, like you said, it is true that some are much more accommodating because they were built with that in mind, and others had to have literal rows of stands demolished
Yeah,
in order to make the
it's just a
field wide
big
enough
wall.
because a soccer field is wider than a football field. Chris, you got anything you want to throw out there? Anything you want to rant about? If not, throw out some more.
No rants from me, boys.
You sure? I mean, you're here. I want you to get some airtime, bud.
No, no, I'm good.
All
Like
right.
I said, I've just been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it as a casual fan.
Okay. Speaking of casual fan, then let me ask you this, Chris. One thing that I know a lot of people have complained about is they spend so much time showing celebrities in the crowd that sometimes they're actually miss the action to show them. Also, I don't think the world broadcast realizes that not all of us know all the celebrities. For example, when they were randomly showing some Brazilian celebrities at the Brazil game, I, as an American, had no idea who they were. I went on Reddit after one of the games in Seattle, and people were asking who those guys were they were showing on TV, and I'm like, well, dude, that was Beast Mode. That was Marshawn Lynch. I know exactly who that was. But the thing is, more than half the people watching don't know who these celebrities are, nor do we care. Some of them the announcers don't even know, and the announcers are guessing, and sometimes straight up say, I don't know who this is. And it's like, just show us the action on the field. It's the World Cup. You don't need to promote the World Cup any further than it's already been promoted by saying a celebrity came to my game. It's not like a Knicks game where you give out free tickets to celebs to get them to sit courtside. So, Chris, I ask you, as a casual viewer, do you like getting to see the celebrities at the game, or do you also think you could do without that?
I could do without, a lot of pans to the suites and some of the box seats where, like you said, I have no idea who anybody is. But I guess it makes people from that country happy, and if it does, so be it. Generally speaking, though, I don't like the panning to the celebrities in any game, though, whether it be World Cup, football,
Swifty is what you're
NBA.
saying.
Who cares?
You guys heard it on the pod first. The Golshani Lee Law Firm and Chris Lee hate Taylor Swift. Get them, boys. No, I'm
So
kidding. I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, so you guys must have hated the NBA finals.
Oh, dude, the Knicks game was insufferable.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but I kind of enjoy it. And also, when you got like one big TV in the house and you're trying to argue for like like an Argentina Algeria game or whatever, or I think it was Austria Algeria, it's like showing what's her name, Shakira in the audience goes a long way to keeping that game on the TV longer when you have to share the TV with other people.
Okay, maybe it's for the people with significant others. What you're saying, but
Yeah,
I
because
think it's all about timing, right? Like if you do it
yeah.
when there's a hydration break or when medical has to come on the field or there's been a big foul and there's a player pretending to be hurt on the field and you have time to show them, that's fine. My issue is when they show them and you hear the announcers calling the game because action is still happening. There was one where like the announcer got super excited. I thought there was gonna be a shot on goal that we may have missed the goal like if he had scored. Like that's how excited the announcer got. Also, before anyone tries to blame Fox for this, the same way we blame NBC in the Olympics, this is not Fox's broadcast. It is a world broadcast. Everyone worldwide sees the same live images. Now, obviously, the commentary is different, but the live images you're seeing are a world broadcast. Same with a lot of the graphics that are put up. So, not trying to put Fox on blast for this in particular, but yeah.
Yeah, I think like panning to people in the crowd that like are celebrities after a goal too is kind of lame. you kind of want to watch the goal. You want to see the players celebrate. You want to see the sub celebrate. And it's cool sometimes if they pan to like the crowd and you have like someone with like, all decked out celebrating, but could use less celebrities after goals are scored as well.
Yeah, yeah, another time you could show it for sure. Um, let's
Like that's my
see.
issue with soccer in general is, sometimes you want to see that shot on goal again, but it's really hard to get, right? Because it's ongoing, right? And so like they wait until there's a
Do you
foul
know?
or something like that, and then they'll show you the shot on goal. So, it keeps the game moving, it keeps you interested and engaged. So, I would rather watch more replays, like slow-mo replays of the goal. That'd be nice.
Um, True, but do you know who they showed after Messi got his second goal in the Argentina-Austria game?
Maradona?
No, he's dead.
Still could have showed him. Would have been awkward though.
Would have been real awkward. They showed Ginobili, and
Ginobili,
I hadn't seen him on camera in probably close to a decade. So I
four-time NBA champion Manu Ginobili.
thoroughly enjoyed that one.
This is my ignorance. Luis Suarez still isn't playing for Uruguay, is he?
No, they cut to him in the box
No,
during the Uruguay game so many times
yeah.
that my dad texted me
Yeah, okay,
and
that's what I
asked,
thought.
"Who do they keep cutting to in the box?" I'm like, "The guy that would be scoring for Uruguay if they had him out there."
Yeah,
Dude, and
they
it
could play
like
him.
they cut to him so many times, and I was watching that game, and I was like, "Isn't that the guy who was biting people?"
Yes,
Yeah.
Like,
three
that's what the
separate
casual
times.
fan thinks about him. Like, they're just
Also, the guy
he's
who
the guy who
started
bites
center
people.
forward for Barcelona for a decade and part of some of the greatest Barcelona teams when they had Neymar and Messi and Suarez. It was called MSN. So yeah,
Yeah, I get that, Mitch, but all I remember from that era and then the World Cups that he played in was that he was biting
biting.
people.
100.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
bit, and he's also more of a problem. He did a lot of terrible things. I think he did a couple below the belt grabs.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't want to hang out with him. I'm just saying Uruguay is struggling to score in this World Cup, and he's their all-time leading scorer and still plays soccer. So
Yeah,
it's the same thing argued when we left Landon Donovan off our roster, right back in the day. Like sometimes there are people that you keep on the roster, like Romelu Lukaku with Belgium, right? Like they left him on the roster even though he's older now and didn't even have a good season this year. But they're like, look, he's our all-time leading goal scorer. We're gonna keep
he
him
also
there.
looks very out of shape.
Well,
Also, back to the
well, to be
Donovan
fair,
thing,
he's
I think,
always looked very out of shape. But let me just finish this point, then you can go back to Donovan.
yeah,
But in game one, they were struggling so bad to score. They were trailing. They decided to put Lukaku in the game. Within 2 minutes, he generates a goal. Right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
I just think that's the
for
kind of
sure.
guy that you need to have on your like. You need to have that in your back pocket, even if he's not like the next game they started him and he didn't do much as a starter because he is older and out of shape. But like sometimes you can get a spark off the bench as a sub, a super sub, as it were, that you kind of discussed previously, and I think
Yeah.
that would have been a good role for Suarez.
Yeah, it's like Arnautovic with Austria. I think he used to be a Tottenham top goal scorer. I haven't seen him in like 8 years. He's like 39 years old and he's out there scoring goals. So yeah, they didn't leave him off too. I agree. They should have probably. But back to Donovan, I think that was more of a power play by Klinsmann. Klinsmann was supposed to be given the keys to American soccer and blah blah blah, and complete autonomy. And I think that was a power play between him and Donovan should have been on that team. But oh well.
All right. Anything else from you? I mean, I have a ton more random things to talk about because I take notes every game basically. But yeah, if you guys have something, I'll let you go for it. But if not, I'll keep ranting. I don't want this
Nothing
to
I
just
can
be the
think of.
Alex show. I like that you guys are here. I want to be able to talk to my boys. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I just can't. I mean, I'm sure whenever you bring up something about the game, I'll have something to say. I just can't think off the top of my head right now.
Chris, what about you, man?
No, no, keep going. Like I said, I've been able to watch maybe like a game, half a game to a game every day. So, or a match, I guess you could say. So as you rant, I'll throw in my thoughts as if I watch it or have anything to say.
Okay. All right then. Let's. Oh, one more stadium rant. I didn't get this one. So in the Spain game recently, there was a ball that rolled out on the field that wasn't supposed to be there. So one of the Spanish players goes over and tries to kick it back off the field. Unfortunately, it bounces off the ad stanchion and rolls back onto the field. So now we have an extra ball in play, but plays on the other side of the field, so no one notices, and they keep playing with an extra ball. And the whole time I'm sitting there watching it, because this ball's on the field for over 5 minutes, I'm thinking to myself, a tennis court is pretty small, and they have 6 ball kids per match. But in a World Cup stadium that seats 75,000 people, we can't get one ball boy to go grab that sucker?
There's definitely ball boys, but they're not allowed. Dude, letting them on the field, that's wild. There's no way you're gonna let a kid make that decision during a soccer game.
I'm not talking about having a 12-year-old Timmy get the ball. I'm talking about having a FIFA official. It's like, hey, there's a ball in the field. Let me grab that sucker.
Ref is supposed to blow the play at the nearest convenience
Well,
when
we've
if the
talked
ball
about the
interferes.
refs already, haven't we?
Yeah, that's true. But
I'm just saying it was really weird
uh,
to like see a ball just chilling on the field for 5 minutes when like there's
well,
a
it's
sport like
because of the
tennis where
new. It's because FIFA has this new rule where they have like 4 to 6 balls, so it's like 2 on each baselines and 1 on the ends. That like if someone kicks the ball into the stands or tries to time waste, you can just pick up this ball that's sitting on a cone,
yeah.
and you can just throw it in from there. So it's like they have that. So there's, yeah, been more balls on the field.
I just thought that was weird. All right, a
It
couple of
is.
rule changes we didn't talk about last time. We talked about the rule changes to deal with time wasting that Mitch you just mentioned. Uh, Now you have 10 seconds once you hold up the sign for making a sub to get that old player off the field. If not, you have to play a man down for the next minute. I really like that rule. It
Yep.
eliminates the time wasting of like, I'm going to slowly walk 80 yards across the field diagonally instead of just stepping off to the side. It gets rid of that. There was a game where I think a player had forgotten about that, and Australia's captain ran over and started pushing his own teammate off the field because his teammate was lollygagging, and I think he'd just forgotten about that. Another rule is if you don't take throw-ins fast enough, we talked about that those can get switched to the other team, but apparently it also applies to goal kicks and presumably corner kicks as well, and that's kind of a big deal. Having a goal kick switch to a corner on a timeline that's brutal. So I do like that rule now that they're making people
It's
play a little faster.
it's
Uh,
also amazing because then it takes out of the ref's hand to force a yellow on a goalie when the goalie's taking 5 minutes every goal kick. He
100%.
doesn't have to play that game anymore.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you waited too long.
See ya.
Card.
And then which game was it? There's a couple refs that were counting it out like literal basketball shot clocks where they were doing their hand like up in the air.
Yeah, you
Like
can
not
hear
all the
them.
refs. Yeah, it's wild to see for the first time, but I very much enjoy it.
Uh, let's see what else. Um, oh, here's a new one that I'll ask you guys about. The new yellow card reset timelines. So for those who don't know, in the World Cup, if you get a yellow card in one match and you get another one in another match, that does make an effective red card. Now you got kicked out of the second match, but you will have to miss your next upcoming match. So if you get a yellow card in game one and then a yellow card in game two, you have to miss game three because you've gotten 2 yellow cards. Now, in the past, yellow cards did not reset until after the quarterfinals. So it would be you play your 3 group stage games, then you play your round of 16 game and your round of 8 games. So 5 games total. Then they reset for the semis and finals. So they don't want anyone to miss the finals as a result. So now that they've added an extra game to the tournament, there's now 2 reset portions where it's after group stages they reset, which is why most players on teams that have already advanced that have a yellow card will not play in the group stage finale. Like the U.S. players that are on yellow cards, we will most likely not see them play in our next match because there's no
For
reason to
sure.
risk them getting a second yellow.
That would be so
And then
stupid.
and then it resets again after the quarterfinals like it did before. So basically it's 3 games reset, 3 games reset, 2 games. So it actually makes more sense numbers wise. Instead of 5 and then 2, it's now 3-3-2. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think this is going to allow teams to play dirtier, more aggressive now that they have more resets to play with on their cards?
No, I think it just favors teams that don't have to be as deep. So like the Frances and the Brazils and Portugals, like they could care less about this yellow card accumulation because the next player they plug in is equally elite. Whereas other countries that are dependent on 2 or 3 players, they can't miss a game, period. So I think it's creates a little bit more competitive as opposed to being dirty. Unless you're Argentina, then I guess you take it and be more dirty. But no, I
Chris,
think it's good. I
Chris, what
think I
about
like
you?
it.
Yeah, no, I like the system. I was unaware of it. It seems to make sense. I like 3-3-2. To me, like carrying over from group stage. into the round of 32 and then round of 16 seems kind of brutal. I'm not saying that like players should go out there and accumulate yellow cards like crazy, but at the same time, like sometimes yellows are a part of the game, right?
For sure.
And I like that you have the ability to go out there and be aggressive in the group stage, and then when you make it to, I guess it's there's something before the round of 32 now, right?
Well, no, it used to start at round of 16. Now it starts at round of
Yeah.
Oh,
32.
my bad. Yeah. So yeah, now that you have the round of 32, round of 16, and then round of eight, the quarterfinals, I guess you could call them. It'll be good to see like yellow cards reset. That way you don't have players playing super timid.
Okay.
Agreed.
We've talked about this next one in our group chat. We haven't talked about it on the podcast, so I'll talk about it here, and I've got it up on screen, the bracket. One of the changes they've had to make because of the expansion to having a round of 32 is some first place teams, like Germany and the US, will play a third place team in their first match. Other first place teams will play a second place team in their first match. And then some second place teams will get to play a second place team in their first match. So basically, some first place teams get an easier first matchup, some second place teams get an easier first matchup. What do you guys think of this system? Do you think it's fair and balanced, or do you think it's kind of BS that it's not the same level of competition potentially for everyone in the knockout stages?
Well, if we had the same 32 pre format, this would be insane. But because we added 16 teams, it does tend to push the better teams towards the top. Whereas before, if you had a 2A versus 2B in the previous format, that would be so unfair for other teams. But yeah, I guess because we added 16 more teams this time around, it went from 32 to 48, right? So right? Or do I have that wrong? Yeah, Norm, that's
Yeah.
right. So it's just like I guess it's interesting. I don't even seeing the eight teams that get the third place too is also off-putting a little bit to me. I'm gonna see how it plays out before I make up my mind on this. But yeah, thankfully there's more teams basically is what I'm trying to say. So the elite teams do have a better opportunity to get pushed towards the top. So you don't have crazy matchups.
Yeah, but it's just more of like, so for example, if you were first place in Group F, and I don't have the groups in front of me. I don't know who's in Group F off the top of my head. But if you're in first place in
Uh,
Group F, no matter what, you're
Netherlands.
playing Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Netherlands wins or whoever wins that group, but if Netherlands wins that group, which they're expected to, they have to
Right.
play a second place team no matter what.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were in the group with, and we already qualified, so let's use this one. If you're in Group G, I don't know if that matters in Group G, but if you're in Group G and you win, you get to play a third place team no matter what. It's not based on, well, the guy in Group G had the number one seed in Group G did better than the number one seed in Group F, so they get the easier matchup. No, no, it was predetermined before the World Cup started that if you happen to be in Group F, you get hosed compared to the guy in Group G.
Right. I would like to see it played out, but I think it's compensated by the next round. You get a much more difficult matchup.
Right. That
It's
that is the alleged compensation is that
right.
if in this scenario,
Next round, you're gonna
they'll
get
play
a
a two
big
seed
heavy
no matter
hitter.
what because
Yeah.
it'll be yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
like a first place team's gonna play a
whereas this
first
could be
place
two
team.
first place teams, or it could be another third
Yeah,
place team. Could be a Knicks path to the
yeah,
finals.
yeah. I don't like that they preset it, right? I wouldn't if it was more of a reset after group play and then ranking the countries um based on how they did in group play and then going from that point. So obviously, like one plays 32 or like, one plays 16 and two plays 15 or whatever. I think that I would be more down with that, but it just seems weird to preset everything when you have no idea how things are going to pan out.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the specifics, but I wish they would have started at a 40-man tournament instead of the 48 because I think the numbers would be better. I agree. But again, let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, and speaking of the number of teams, it's also worth noting like not all teams are created equal because of the way this works is there's regions, right? In soccer it's the North American region, the South American region, the European region, the Asian region, etc. So not all regions are created equal, and you have to give all the regions opportunities to get their teams into the tournament. How do I see?
Unless you're the home country, then you auto qualify.
Sure,
Like,
unless
yeah.
unless you're the home. Nah, that's not. Where was I? 30
But
minutes
this
ago.
year it was
5 minutes ago.
unique that three countries qualified automatically.
Well, the point. Anyway, here's the groups. The point that I was trying to make with that though
Oh,
is
gotcha.
you end up with teams that aren't that high in the rankings that get to go, and teams that are high in the rankings that don't. So no one look this up. Don't Google this. I'm gonna ask you guys. Who do you think the top ranked team in the world is that did not qualify for the World Cup? And what position in the world rankings were they at the start of the World Cup?
Italy six.
Okay, you're guessing Italy six. Chris, what's your guess?
I was gonna say Italy. Yeah, right.
And what do you think
Top
their
five,
world
top
ranking
10.
was?
Their world ranking,
Yeah.
like actual world ranking or what they would have been.
What their actual, according to FIFA, what their world ranking was at the start of the World Cup.
When and when they didn't qualify as well.
Well, this is the I'm going on the world rankings based on June 11th, which was like the first
Oh,
Well,
of the
gotcha.
tournament.
if they didn't
It might have
qualify for the
dropped a little bit
tournament, and
then.
there's 48 teams in the tournament, it's 49.
No,
So that's the
there's
point
like
I'm making.
six or eight.
They're 12th.
12? They dropped to 12? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So the 12th ranked team in the world did not make the World Cup. Now, which team do you think is the lowest ranked of all the teams in the World Cup, and what is their ranking?
Cabo
Um,
Verde,
yeah.
82.
Chris, your guess?
Cape Verde, I would say, I'm just gonna call them 48.
Okay, very close, Mitch. It's the 85th team, but it's not Cape Verde. It's New Zealand.
Oh, it's New Zealand.
New
I should have known
Zealand
that.
at 85. So yeah, the fact that the New Zealand at 85 can make it and potentially now, unfortunately, they did kind of blow it in their last match, so they're probably not
They
going to
did.
advance
They
now.
did.
But the point being, the fact that New Zealand had a chance to advance as an 85th ranked team, and a team like Italy is at 12th and sitting at home, goes to tell you that like these brackets can give you some weird scenarios. But yeah, the FIFA World Rankings are fun to look at. I'm
Oh,
gonna make a
yeah.
game with them
All,
at some point. But
not all qualification is equal. Definitely not. That's why when you see these like Norway and Austria teams qualifying, it's like they didn't sneak in. They had to beat some serious competition to get there. And same thing with people sleep on South America. It's always like they forget Brazil and Argentina, but it's like imagine being in any group with Brazil and Argentina and trying to qualify out of that. So the other teams that make it out of South America are usually pretty good because you it's already two auto qualifiers, and then there's basically two left for the rest of everyone else. So yeah, not all qualifications equal. Definitely not. And not to mention, like, there are six qualifications out of the Middle East and like uh eight qualifications out of Eastern Asia. Yeah, I don't know if I mean they want it to be the World Cup, so whatever.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, you do have to have it be the World Cup. We just talked about the
Right.
expansion. Um, my concern with the expansion, I'm gonna ask you guys this: do you think? Because I asked Vinny this last time. Do you think expanding and letting in some of this lesser competition, like a New Zealand, is in any way cheapening some of the records that are being broken in the same way that by adding an additional game, the NFL has kind of cheapened some of their records. Like beating the rushing record isn't as big of a deal when you get an extra game to do it. Well, beating some of these scoring records and passing records and things that are being broken, like is it cheapened by the fact that you're playing Uzbekistan that hasn't qualified in 40 years and wouldn't have qualified if not for the fact of the expansion, for example?
Of
Can I step in on this one?
Absolutely,
course.
I'd love for you to.
Yeah, absolutely. All I had to do was watch the Canada Qatar game where Qatar got a red card like within the first 15 minutes of play, and then it was 11 on 10, and some dude on Canada, and I think he's a decent player, but he had a hat trick, and it's like
Canada had
you're
never
looking
won a
at
World Cup game before and they won 6-0.
yeah, and you've got a guy with a hat trick, and you're looking at Messi scoring four at this point, Mbappe with no Messi has five,
Messi has
Mbappe
5,
has
Mbappe has 4.
four, Holland has four, and like this I'm not saying he's a scrub, but this somewhat no name is sitting there with a hat trick from Canada. Like I don't believe that.
Uh I don't know how the question was phrased, but no, it does. It's not a concern. It does not matter. The reason why it does not matter is because the people breaking the records are considered greatest of all time. There's no boomers hanging on to Michael Jordan or Willie Mays or Joe Montana over here saying that's the greatest ever because it's just your generational player. It's widely accepted that there's 3 to 5 guys that are going to be top 3 or 4. Like Pele never played in Europe. Maradona is great. Don't get me wrong. He could be still one, but it's like there. I don't think it matters because the people breaking the record are passing guys like Gert Mueller. I bet you didn't even know he was Germany's top goal scorer ever. It's not even the
Yeah, I
same
did
guy
because
as
his
Thomas.
son Thomas Mueller played for them too. He's a
I was just gonna
baller.
say, unless you know it's confused with Thomas Mueller, who actually had a good event. But then, like, second is Ronaldo, the original Nazario. Then after that, it's like Miroslav Klose. I bet you didn't know he was the top scorer for Germany. So it's like, it's not that they're passing like these great. Well, I don't know. I
Well, I
think
made the
that's why
argument
no
on
one
this
cares.
podcast that Miroslav Klose is a better World Cup goal scorer than Messi, and I stand by that because he did it in
Oh
way less
well,
games.
yeah, that might be true. Messi also doesn't has a history of his first decade not playing well for
That
Argentina.
being said,
So
Mbappe's going to crush them both, so it doesn't matter.
right, it doesn't matter, and it's going to get passed by. Don't let Holland have many World Cups. Holy, you know
Well,
what I
yeah,
mean? So
this
it's
is
like,
his first one, but he's already 25. If he had gotten one at 21, he'd have a chance. But missing
or
out on his first is going
18
to be
or
tough.
18 like Mbappe and Lamal.
Yeah.
So like, and Messi 17. So like, it's just like I get it, but I don't think anyone cares because of. Also, the one thing I will say is like the athletes have gotten better in all sports, but as the athletes get better in soccer, like the quality of not so right. You always have those striker who can strike. You know what I mean? The true striker, like Ronaldo or Nazario. Like you've always had those guys, right? But like more people, like right backs, wing backs, like left backs, outside wingers. We used to play with outside midfielders that couldn't score. Like now they all can. Like the quality of each player can all score and you have free kicks. But I think it's just I think more scoring is attributed to it. I think the athletes are just better. And the goalies, yeah, the goalie athletes are better, but the ability to place the ball is king. It's like in basketball, great offense always beats great defense. So I think that has a little bit to do with it too.
I mean, maybe, but another issue. I went back too far. Yeah, it's just it's interesting, right? It's just I don't know. I can go either way on it.
For
But
sure.
I just you mentioned you mean Lamal, so I'm gonna bring him up. Is it just me, or does he kind of feel like child labor out there?
He
Uh,
had his phone out.
Spain. Well, no, no. So he's 18
Sorry. Yeah.
and he's injured. So they didn't start him in game one, but they ended up bringing him in because they're like, oh, we need him, and they ended up drawing with Cape Verde, which is a huge deal. So in game two they start him, even though they knew in advance he wasn't gonna be able to go the full 90 minutes. He's not healthy enough to go the full 90. But they're like, we need this kid out there. Sure enough, he scores their first goal pretty early in the game. But it's like Spain is hoping they get the job done while he's in there, knowing you can't give him a full game, but he's still being asked to play. Like, is this child labor?
Uh, he had his phone out, and then the professional players, because you gotta understand who plays for Spain, like they're all world class players on top clubs. Like, bro, you gotta leave your phone in the locker room. He's out there doing TikTok during this stuff with his. That's how young he is. He just doesn't. Um, as far as the Spain and Lamine Yamal, they do not need Lamine Yamal to win this World Cup. Obviously, he's one of the top 5 players in the world, but that roster and tying, what was it, Cape Verde? That's just like one of the all-time. Just like remember, 4 years ago, Argentina lost to what was it Saudi Arabia game one, and then they end up winning the World Cup. It's just one of those things where like some of these Cinderella teams have plot armor, and Spain couldn't do anything against the plot armor. So no. I'm not even joking around, Chris. Like Spain could bench like 3 or 4 of their starters and still win this World Cup.
Well,
So
they were the favorites coming into it. I know that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they were, but after tying Cape Verde, France is now the favorite. The odds did move. Um,
yeah.
Sounds like someone should hammer Spain.
yeah. All right.
Dude,
I've got a
it's so
morality.
good.
I've got a serious question for you guys. How about this one? Okay. So I got two serious questions. I'm gonna start with the morality question. To cut, I've been making a lot of jokes this podcast. How do you guys feel about teams like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, countries like that, where those countries are known for doing some truly heinous things to people, but the soccer players themselves aren't necessarily the one doing them things. They're not necessarily part of the ruling class, and if anything, they may be using soccer as kind of a way for their families to have escaped and gotten their way out of being part of that oppressed class in those countries. How does it feel when it comes to like rooting for or against those teams? Because I know normally in sports, you usually will try to root for the underdog if you don't have a dog in the fight. Like if you're a fan of Spain, you're going to cheer for Spain no matter who they're against, right? But if you're not a fan of one of these big countries, like let's say you're like, oh, I'm a fan of Argentina and South American, like in Brazil, South American teams, so I don't like the European teams. You might want to cheer for an underdog when they, like a Saudi Arabia, when they play Portugal or whoever. So my question is, how do you guys feel about that? How does your morality come into play when it comes to them being the underdog versus their countries being known for some heinous things?
So personally speaking, I am all about rooting for countries that I can generally rally behind. Um, I generally speaking don't root for like Saudi Arabia.
The
Not a
Kingdom
big
of
fan
Saudi
of like
Arabia. Get it right. I'm just kidding. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
the kingdom, yeah, yeah, or His Excellency. Not a big fan of like the Live Golf League and some of the sports washing stuff that's been, happening. So I would say I'm like neutral. I'm not like rooting for them, not rooting against them, but it's much easier for me to get behind like a Cape Verde, right?
Right.
Um, like no atrocities. Don't know much about them. Maybe I should do a little research before, I start rooting for them. But generally speaking, they seem like a fun team to root for. While like I'm not sitting here rooting for Qatar.
Sure. Mitch, what about you?
Is didn't someone on this podcast right now pick Iran to win the World Cup?
No, that was a joke your brother made.
Oh, I thought that you actually did
Yeah,
pick
but
them
just
in
for
your pick.
clarity, we're doing like a bracket thing where we can fill out our brackets and like pick the team that we think is going to win the World Cup. And his brother made a joke that I'd picked Iran to win it
I
all as a
thought you
political
actually
statement,
did.
and apparently he believed that. What?
That was great for the memes. I thought it was funny. Winning on home soil would be wild. I try not to. It's hard not to, but yeah, I mean, I'm not rooting for specific countries for specific reasons, but I guess people, I wonder how the rest of the world feels about USA doing well. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there's some countries out there that are not rooting for our soccer team as well. So it goes both ways. And I forgot what I was gonna say, but no, that's pretty much it. I can't remember now.
Okay,
I mean, I'm so petty that I don't root for Japan. You know, like for those on the pod that don't know, I'm Korean. My parents are from South Korea. Not saying that it's ironic because my mom owns and runs two Japanese restaurants, but like generally speaking, Japan, South Korea, big rivals, right? Forget about the history and all that stuff. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about the general rivalry that they have, right? And so it's like Japan's a good team, but I don't find myself rooting for them. Now, if it's like Japan versus, some other no-name, like some other, I don't know, I'm just gonna say like Middle Eastern country that I don't really get behind, I'll probably, be rooting for Japan, but I'm not gonna be rooting that hard, right?
Right, so
Um,
I guess mine more along the lines is like I'm not a lot of times when I'm rooting against a team, it's not necessarily their country. So like I know a lot of these players from year round watching them. So like for example, Gabriel, I'm rooting for him hard to have like a really good World Cup because last time we saw him, he missed the Champions League game final PK against PSG that lost basically the Super Bowl of soccer. And it was like, PK number 6 or 7 or whatever, and he's a defender. So it's like basically, what I'm trying to say is like I know it's not like I know them from the last 4 years, but even longer. And it's like if you have any players I know, I'm more rooting along those lines than necessarily what country you play for.
fair enough. All
yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
that's a good point, Mitch.
It's like a
Getting
fantasy
behind the
football style
person.
style rooting.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. Like I know the Arsenal players really well. I do root for Arsenal, and so it's like it's hard. I do want obviously USA is number one by far and away, but it's like I kind of tend to like the Arsenal guys. You know what I mean? Like Odegaard on Norway is hard not to root for.
I'm Yeah, I mean, I chose Argentina to win it all, and that was just purely based on me liking Messi, right? And like
Also number
wanting
one
to
in the world
see
ranking,
that,
so not a bad pick.
yeah, but just to see that story, right? Like, how epic would it be if he finished back-to-back World Cup champion and then retired, from the World Cup? Like, I just think it would be a cool story, which is why I picked it, right? So I get where you're coming from, Mitch.
Speaking of, have you guys seen this new statue that they built of Messi, where it looks like he's about to peg himself with a World Cup trophy?
Um,
James?
Always
I
get a
don't
mad
know
machine
how.
color.
Yeah, I don't. Argentina's tough for me. It's like it's how do I describe this? It's like Luis Scaloni is like he's built an offense that it's like, hey, if you want to play for Argentina, if there's more than three passes and after that third pass doesn't touch Messi's feet, I'm gonna bench you. That's literally how they run their offense, and it's working. It's beautiful. It's like Portugal does not give two flying you know whats about how often Ronaldo touches the ball. Mbappe plays like on the winger. Olise and Dembele play towards each other and play a little tiki-taka, and like Mbappe is just making runs like on the opposite side of the field and just like not it's so fascinating to see how like no to be on Argentina everything is going through Messi. Like there are times where Messi should have not been receiving the ball, but they've made it a point to get him the ball. So I will agree with my brother that like it's really awesome to see a bunch of these players like Enzo plays for Man United. A lot of these Argentina players play for top clubs, and it's like they don't play that way on their club. But once they put on the Argentina jersey, they're willing to just be like, "Hey, I'm going to." They talk about it with NBA, USA basketball. Someone's gonna have to take a back seat and sacrifice. Dwayne Wade did it for us once. Steph Curry did it for us once. Like someone's gonna have to take a sacrifice, and for some reason, these Argentinian players, when they play for Argentina, they're all willing to just sacrifice and give it to Messi. It's wild to watch. And it's also frustrating because they're all like 5'2", and they're like, insert politically incorrect name for little people, but they're all a bunch of M words running around and, just like pushing people, and they're playing gorgeous soccer. It's very frustrating to watch. It's
Um,
yeah, go on.
there are these great videos that came on my feed in social media where they take a bunch of English guys and they basically say like, "Would you replace Harry Kane for this guy, this guy, this guy?" And
Yeah.
like they all say no, and then as soon as they say Messi, they're like, "Yeah, yeah."
Yeah, for sure.
He's he's just beloved, man.
So if you told me to rank my top 10, I could easily do that. But the thing is, like, it's like, is this overall? Because Mbappe is overall number one. But if you're talking right now, currently, best year, scored 55 goals, like on the top of his game, the best player in the world, undoubted, unarguably for me, is Harry Kane right now. But like, if you want to say like, oh, who's the best player in soccer? That's, you know what I mean? I'm like, Mbappe is still king. Does that make sense? It's like, Mahomes.
Yeah.
Mahomes, I think, is the best NFL player, but like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow could be having a better year.
Well,
So I guess in
it's like
this,
the year we had Jamal Lewis when we ran for 2,000 yards. If you had Jamal
yeah,
Lewis any other year, he's a
yeah.
tier two running back. But
Well,
if you had him that
yeah.
year,
Well, Kane's never been tier two, but like, yeah, Kane's always
right?
floated
But that's
around
the point
like,
I'm making. Like that,
yeah, yeah,
Kane is dreaming wrong, but like you said, this year he was lights out better than everyone else. So
oh,
he's
he's
the
the
clear cut
best.
number
Yeah,
one. But
yes.
if you look at like in aggregate over the last 3 year averages, I'm taking a lot of guys over Harry Kane.
Yeah, he probably about 10 to 12 guys over him. But this year, he's always floated in between that like 9, 10 to 14 spot in the world for sure for me. But yeah, he's undoubtedly the best player right now.
That's England's captain. For those who don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I had one other like more serious question. What do you guys think about this whole people can play for whoever kind of situation? Like I talked about the guy that switched from Italy to Australia 3 weeks before the competition. Curacao, great story that Curaçao's in the World Cup. Only one person on the entire team was even born in Curacao.
They're
Like
155,000 population
I,
and
I
20.
understand that, and I understand there's rules that allow people to play for countries other than their birth country. I just
Yeah,
think there needs to be some sort of limitation. Like I know in esports for a long time there was a 50% rule where like in order to be like a U.S. representative,
that's true.
you had to have 50% of your guys be
Region
U.S.
luck.
U.S. citizens, right? Like, can you not have it where like, hey, at least 50% of your guys have to be from Curacao, like actual people that live or whatever Curacao, not like, hey, this guy lives in Scotland, but his grandfather immigrated there from Curacao when he was 4, and so now
So
he can play for
Curacao
them.
has an academy in the Netherlands. I think if you Google it, I think it's something like I remember reading it's like 19 of their 24 players are from the Netherlands
Yeah.
academy team or something like that.
But I mean, that's just one example. You were saying the other
Yeah.
day that I think there's 2 people in Morocco born in Morocco, right? Like that. There's
Yeah.
lots of examples of this, and I
Right.
understand. And look, the U.S. is the same way. We have a ton of guys like Weston McKennie was born in the U.S. and spent about 5 minutes here before he went and grew up in Germany, right? So like I
Hey, you
get it.
leave
I'm
my
not
boy
saying
out
we're
of
not doing
this.
it too. I'm just saying I think I think there needs to be some kind of limitation. Or do you guys like it the way it is?
Michael Olise is probably the MVP of the World Cup. Actually, for me, he is so far. He was born and raised in England and went through the English academies, and he's probably France's best player right now. So it goes dirty both ways. I guess the question becomes, A, do you want to play for your country and be prideful? Or B, do you have a chance to win the World Cup? If you have an option B, that means you can play for one of the top six nations. And if you have one of those options, then you choose it. It's just whether
I'm
like
not.
it's
Oh,
like
I want to
if
be very
Alex,
clear. I am not blaming the players, dude. I'm not
yeah,
blaming the players for this at all.
right.
If I was someone who my actual country of origin was Pakistan, and I know I'm never going to get to go to the World Cup, but I somehow qualify to play for England, who's one of the favorites.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm playing for England. That's not what I'm saying. I'm asking, do you think FIFA regulations need to be altered? Maybe instead of grandparent, be parent, or like something to where there's more people on your
No,
team from the country.
because the countries now aren't even using that as an excuse. That's just for like public perception. Nowadays, that's even dirtier than that is the naturalization. These governments are just naturalizing them instantly. So like,
Right, and that goes back to what I said before, is like a percentage that you must have on your roster that's from your country.
so then like the government's gonna have to decide we can't naturalize you because you're gonna play soccer and you don't have a certain percentage of our. It's so hard to control. If the country wants you, they're just gonna give you citizenship regardless of your parents' heritage, and then you can play for that country.
Fair
And
enough.
a
Chris,
lot of
what are your thoughts?
it's even dirtier because supposedly some governments are paying some of these players to naturalize in their country, and it's all off books or whatever. So it's like, hey, we'll pay you X amount of money, you become an American citizen, and we'll naturalize you, and now you're on the World Cup team.
Chris, what about you, bud?
It's I, I'm split here. Like, I don't like the idea of policing the entire process, but at the same time, it's like so. Like a good example is like South Korea or Japan, right? Like those guys, you look at them, they're all from those respective countries, you know, and like they're all like I don't know like their teams 100%, but I can almost guarantee you none of them are naturalized in Korea or Japan. They were born there. Some of them played. I know some Koreans play in Europe, like the really good ones, but at the same time, the rest of their team is like from the country and play in Asian soccer leagues, right?
Right.
So but at the same time, like I totally understand like where Team USA comes from, right? Like a lot of people are born overseas because they're army brats or their parents have dual citizenship, and then they get to choose, and it's awesome that they're choosing Team USA. So how do you police that, right? But it is like kind of interesting that like you look at like Netherlands and they're a tiny, tiny part of the entire world population, yet they have like how many players in the World Cup? Right? It's for sure more than a single soccer team's worth. Um, yeah,
They, for sure, a lot of the European countries spread out. Like if you Google, like France has a lot of loner players that like are French born playing for other teams. I think that it's ridiculous. Though, Chris, I agree on what you said. It's funny because generally the whole team is like Japan and Korea is like theirs. But this year, finally, for like the first time in my life, do you know who the Japanese goalie is?
no idea.
He's
Suzuki?
Amer Yeah, he's American and would be starting for the US if he chose to be US. And he's African American as well, and he's phenomenal.
African
So
American named Suzuki playing for Japan. Gotta love it.
no, Google it, Alex. I put it up on the screen. He was
Oh,
born
I
in
know who
New
he is. I
Jersey.
didn't know he was American.
Yeah,
Listen,
born.
I told you those Japanese play dirty. I told
Yeah,
you
dude.
guys that.
He's 22 or 21. He's gonna be Japan's goalie for the next three World Cups, and he would instantly start over Matt Freeze for us.
Speaking of goalies, anyone else thinks it's a little odd that Zidane's son chose to play for Algeria to be their goalie?
It's even more odd because he was a field player and he couldn't make France's national team in the U's because you don't have to declare when you go through like the U14s, 15s, and 16s. You're allowed to play for them, but not declare for the major one, the national team. So he was actually trying to make the French team, couldn't. Tried to make the Algeria team, couldn't switch to goalie, made it.
And in
Wow.
case anyone listening doesn't know, Zidane's like a French legend in soccer. Now he
Oh,
is
top
part of Algerian too, but he played for France.
He's not just a French legend. He's top 5, 7 player of all time
Also,
for
most
sure.
known to casuals as the dude that headbutted that Italian in the World Cup.
For sure. For Marco Materazzi.
That's gotta be
All
tough
right,
for him,
boys.
right? When your son chooses to play for a different country, that's gonna be tough for you.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's Zidane. I think it was Zidane's parents. Obviously, that makes Zidane Algerian, but I think it was like this parent side or whatever that got it. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I have to hop off, boys. So, good talking with you. Just didn't want to, quietly quit in the background. And
No
Alex,
worries.
I'm pretty sure you're the host here, so I'm not gonna ruin the podcast by signing out.
yeah. Thanks for coming, Chris. We appreciate you being here and appreciate you sponsoring the pod. Be on the lookout for merch coming soon. Thanks to our sponsor. We're gonna have some merch
No.
coming out in the near future. So
It'll start as swag, and then if people want to actually get some more of that, then it'll be merch.
nice, nice. I love it. I love it.
All right, see you later, boys.
See you, man.
See you,
Thanks
Chris.
for having me.
All right, Mitch. I think it's been a long pod. I got a ton more to talk about, but we can save it for next time. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we wrap it up?
I just we could wrap it up with who do you like the best? Like I know not who you picked pre, but like we've watched what round two of almost everyone. Who you liking? If you had to repick, who would your winner be?
If I had to repick today, you mean?
Or you could keep the same one if you're confident. I'm
I
just
mean,
who
so it's hard to say because of who they played, right? Coming into this World Cup, I think I had Spain. After seeing Spain's first couple games, I think I like France a lot more than I like Spain. I really think we got robbed by the scheduling though, because
France, Spain in the quarters or whatever
no,
or
France
semis.
Norway being the last game of groups is so disappointing because like I would love to see a real game between France and Norway, but because of how this group has played out, both those teams have already advanced. There's less incentive for them to go out and win that game. Now there's a little incentive. Finishing first versus finishing second is a big deal, but there is less incentive for them to go hard to win that game, and you're going to be resting guys on yellow cards. Whereas if we got to see France Norway in game two, that would have been great. So like I feel like we kind of got robbed on that one because Norway's looked really good, but you know you can't really count the Iraq match, but like the Senegal match, Senegal's supposed to be a good team. They both looked really good against Senegal, right?
Yeah.
So
Can
I
I
would
ex-
love to see
can
a
I
real game against them. But if I had, I don't know. I guess it's hard to say. I'm going to say France just because I think they've looked like a better team. Argentina, I was not as high on coming into this tournament, especially after watching their final friendly against Iceland. They did not look good at all, and they've been great. But they've been
Yep.
great against. I mean, look at who's in their division.
Austria's not bad though.
I mean, maybe,
Austria's not terrible.
but like Austria, Algeria, and their next match is against Jordan. It's like it's I don't know. It's hard for me to crown them based on who they've played against so far. So,
Yep.
but yeah, it is what it is. We will see. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it here if that's cool with you, Mitch. There's a ton more
Yep.
to talk about, but we just don't have that kind of time. It's already been an hour and a half. So,
Yeah. Perfect.
all right. Any final thoughts from you?
No, I enjoyed it. We'll see.
Oh, give your pick. Who's your pick now that we're into the tournament?
The way the mapping worked out, I don't like how Spain and France have to play each other in the semis if all goes well, obviously. So I think Portugal has an easier. They're going to get either Brazil, England, and theirs. So I know Portugal tied that beginning game and everything, but just I'll go be really quick. What if you picked, your favorite football team and you said, "Oh, my football team has won back-to-back Super Bowls." And oh, by the way, Portugal, this team has most of the players on my team. So like, what I'm trying to say is like they have so many of the PSG players that have won back-to-back world titles. It's like it's hard not to naturally pick them. I hope that made sense, but we could wrap it up.
No, I hear you. And I mean, look, they exploded for 5 goals today. Ronaldo answered the critics by having 2 goals of his own. He also celebrated with his teammates when they scored, including that amazing set piece where everyone and their mother thought he was going to shoot the ball off the set piece at the top of the box,
Yeah,
and instead he lets Nuno Mendes take his shot. Goalie's not ready for it at all because it's coming from a different direction. He gets a goal.
so nice.
Like that's he was getting a ton of criticism for being selfish and not playing well in game one. And look, maybe he is, but he looked a lot more like a team player celebrating with his teammates on the goals today. He had some selfless acts today, and part of it's just you're gonna have that mentality when you don't become the top goal scorer of all time by not being a little selfish. So,
For sure.
I don't know. I'm not saying none of the hate is warranted, but I think he's getting a little too much hate. Also, like, guys, he's 41. Let's be real about it. He's not 25-year-old Ronaldo, 28-year-old Ronaldo, 33-year-old Ronaldo. He's 41-year-old Ronaldo. Give him a break. All right?
For sure.
But yeah, thanks so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Say goodbye to all the people out there, Mitch, and I'm going to hit that bumper music.
Goodbye.
We outie.